Hello and welcome back to Beckler Guitars and Repair. And today we're going to do part 2 of this guitar restoration project we've been doing. I've picked up this $150 Husk, which is actually a super cool, like custom built SG Husk. And we've checked everything out. We've fixed the frets on here, made a new nut, put in all the electronics, and a couple little problems that we fixed along the way. But we ran into a pretty large problem that we couldn't fix on that video. So today I want to do part 2. If you haven't seen part 1, I'm going to put the link in the description below. Make sure you check that part out so you're all up to date. And alright, let's go ahead and finish this thing. This is guitar restoration project number 2. Let's go ahead. Alright, here we are. Let's just jump right in. So, if you're all caught up from the last video, we did a bunch of work to this guitar. New machine heads, new nut, customized truss cover, full fret level, full polish, brand new everything, brand new electronics, a new pick guard, knobs, switches, all wired up and set up. And this thing was pretty much good to go. Right before I decided to plug it into the amplifier, I noticed there was a pretty big problem with the intonation. So what I discovered was someone has installed this bridge wrong. So what I mean by that is it's actually angled the wrong way. So if you were a left-handed player, this would make sense. But this is not a left-handed guitar, this is a right-handed guitar. So he mounted it for a lefty. So the intonation would work this way if you were a left-handed player. But it's just incorrect angle, and it's not quite back far enough either. So in my last video I said we are going to go ahead and remove these posts, remove the tailpiece posts out of the body, fill these, and re-drill in the correct spot. But people in the comments actually let me know about a pretty cool product that we're going to try today. So I'm not sure how long this video is going to be. If this product works, it's not going to be that long because it's going to fix the problem. If it doesn't, it's going to be longer because we're going to have to go ahead and plug and re-drill everything here. So another big problem I had with this bridge and this tailpiece is when I got the Husk, the inserts were already in the body. And I tried to remove those because I had a different hardware for the bridge and the tailpiece, but someone had epoxied those into the body so hard that anything I tried to remove them just would not budge them. They were just in there like crazy. So that was another part of the problem. So today we're going to try and remove those posts because either option that I'm thinking of, they have to go. And then we can try the new product that I was recommended, that I bought, and we're going to test it out today. And then if that doesn't work, we're going to go nuclear on this thing and plug the holes, re-drill, remeasure, redo this whole business here. So okay, I'm going to go ahead and take off the strings and try to remove these inserts. Full disclosure, I cheated a little bit for this video. I genuinely thought I was going to have a whole lot more trouble getting these out. So that's why you can see these hardware are all chunked up from me using various tools to try to remove them. So a really good way to remove these normally, again, these were epoxied in, so it was a nightmare. But a really good way to remove these normally would be if you take out this screw, and then you can see that they're in the channel there, there's the bare wood at the bottom. But a little trick is if you take a screw or some other metallic object, something that fits inside there, that will rest against the bottom. So you could use This is just for demonstration. I always use a smaller screw than this, but basically the same principle. You would put this screw side or head side down into the cavity there, and then hopefully it would be only about that big or so. And then when you put in the top and screw it in, it actually forces, because you're hitting against the screw, and it's going to force these inserts up when you do that. Now when I tried that, it was not working. I was simply stripping the screw, because again, these were epoxied in. What I ended up having to do was put the screw in the full way, and then I very carefully hit it with a hammer on each angle, trying to loosen that glue that was in there. And then once it was totally screwed in, I took a huge set of pliers and just used good old-fashioned brute strength to just get it started. And then finally it started to come out. So these have already been lifted out halfway. I figured I can do the rest on camera here. The final blow, just so we can see. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the rest of these out. Oh, they're still in there like crazy. But once you get a rock started, you can kind of pull them out. So there's one. Let's get the other one out here. And the two bridge posts. These ones aren't so bad because I got them most of the way out. All right, so there we are. So, okay, great. Those are out. Now, normally if we were just plugging this, what I would do is I would get some, ideally, this is, I think, a flamed walnut. I would take some walnut and I would I'd measure out these holes, and I'd cut a little bit of a plug to put in there. Then I would tap in the plug, use a chisel to make it flush, sand it around so it's nice and smooth. Then I would use a little bit of finish over the area and just try to match this to be as invisible as possible. And then I would take my rulers and re-measure where these should go, and then re-drill and then re-put in the bridge. But what was recommended in the last video that I went ahead and bought is this product. So this is a hip shot tone-o-matic bridge. And what's really cool about this bridge is it's got a way bigger range for intonation. So on a regular bridge, you can see that you've got about, I would say that's around 1/4 inch of room to intonate. But on this bridge, you've got a full, it looks like about 1/2 inch. And then the posts are also movable too, so you can even get a little bit more by how you position those posts on the holes. So I'm hoping that this bridge is going to be have enough range to intonate this guitar without having to re-drill and plug these holes. So yeah, this is really cool. I looked around for something like this initially before, but I just couldn't find anything. So thanks for recommending this bridge, you guys. It wasn't cheap. Here's kind of what they go for. I think I paid around $200 Canadian with shipping, which is a lot for a bridge, especially since this Husk was $150. But I really like this guitar. I like the way it sounds. I like the way it played. I really like how it looks too. So I'm okay spending a little bit of money on this to get it where I want to without having to, mangle it. So, all right, let's go ahead and install this bridge and check the intonation. So yeah, this is what they look like. And they're super lightweight, like very light. And they seem to be quite high quality. And again, you just adjust the intonation with these screws, like a normal tune-o-matic bridge, but it's got a way bigger range. And the tailpiece is nice and light as well. A cool thing about the tailpiece, it's got these magnetic inserts on the side, so that keeps your tailpiece in place without needing to use screws or anything else like that. So that's kind of a really cool design. So these are the tailpiece inserts. It looks like it comes with an extra piece if you want it. So yeah, it comes with 2 extra screws, and this is the part that you put into the body, and that's where the tailpiece goes. Alright, one problem I've encountered already is these are the inserts it came with. Now these are way too narrow for the holes that I already have, so these aren't going to work. Fortunately, I was able to find inserts in my parts that actually fit the other screw-in portion. So these inserts will work with these screws. So that's good. The back parts also did not fit, but I was able to find 2 other parts in my parts as well that are going to work. Oh, another thing I wanted to mention is another problem we had before is we couldn't get the action quite low enough because the just the way this guitar is set, like the neck angle, the bridge that I had wasn't giving me the action that I wanted. But luckily this bridge is super low profile too, so it's very low and a lot of room for adjustability. So this is a great bridge. Alright, so there it is, fully installed. It took a little bit of work to get it to fit right on here. The posts were a little bit unevenly spaced, so I had to mess around a little bit. But now it's locked into place, and I have it as far back as it can possibly go. So it still looks a little doofy. The angle is still wrong, but because I got so much real estate, I can kind of adjust within the saddles to make it work. And the bridge itself looks great on this guitar. It kind of looks like an older Gibson harmonica style bridge. So yeah, it looks really, really cool, and it kind of matches that 70s aesthetic that I was going for. So now I'm going to put that to the test. I'm going to go ahead and restring it, set it up, and try to get my intonation bang on here. Here it is all installed, and yeah, it looks great. The guitar is all tuned up, it plays nicely, the action's low enough. But unfortunately, it's just a little bit too far out for even this bridge to correct it. So the intonation is definitely passable, it's definitely playable. I would say it plays about as good as like a Les Paul Junior. So the intonation is a little bit off. It's not like off by like a half a key or anything else like that, but it's noticeable. So I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to plug into my Peterson strobe tuner here, the Strobo Plus HD. I use this because it's very, very accurate, and I use it for intonating customers' guitars or my own because it's very, very accurate. So in playing position, if I take the guitar in playing position, and I'm just going to make sure I'm in tune. So E, there's my E string, and that's perfectly in tune. When the strobo tuner stops moving, that means you're in tune. So now I'm going to go ahead, I'm in playing position, I'm going to play the 12th fret. So it's close. For it to be perfect, that would have to be totally still, like done moving. But it's just a little out. There's my A string. So you can see it's moving even a little bit less than the E. The further I go down, the closer I am to intonate it properly, just because the bridge is at that angle. So the further down I go, the further the strings are away. So D is almost no movement at all. So we're almost getting intonated. And then G's actually intonated. So G basically stops. So G string's intonated, and then B and E are as well. Let me make sure I'm perfectly in tune for E. And that's intonated as well. So 3 of the strings are intonated, G, B, and E, but E, A, and D are not. Again, it's not crazy out, but it's out enough that you're gonna notice on the higher frets. So if this bridge was just a little bit wider by like 1/8 of an inch, or if they had put the bridge posts holes 1/8 of an inch back, this thing would be able to work. So yeah, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. Again, it's a lot of work to plug this and re-drill and put everything back together for a small amount of intonation. I mean, a lot of players would be fine with that intonation. So I'm not really sure what I'm going to do yet. I'm going to think on it. I'm going to take 24 hours and decide what I'm going to do. Because I don't really mind the work. The work is going to be fine. It's just going to require me removing the posts again, which again, they're not glued in, so it's not going to be that hard. And then I'm just going to plug the holes and, you know, make sure it's nice and invisible. But there probably is going to be visible marks on here. It's going to be really hard to make this impossible or invisible. Just the way the nature of the repair is, you're going to be able to see a witness mark. You're going to be able to see like a little bit of the plug. It doesn't matter how close I get the finish. You're going to be able to see it. So, and that's going to detract from the look, I think. So I don't know whether it's just to keep it slightly unintonated or to go the full route and mark up the top. So again, I'm going to think about it. About it, and I'm going to go ahead and plug the holes. I tried a couple of my other guitars and compared it, and you can definitely notice the difference. It's subtle, but it's there, and I just figured it's always going to bug me about this guitar if I don't fix it. So I did a little bit more thinking about it though, and I don't think I need to move all the holes. I think I just need to move these 2. I toyed around with the idea of even just one. If I move the bridge into this position, I know that these strings are already intonated, so if I moved it just one of these screws back a bit, that should do it. However, I thought about it a little bit more. These are already maxed out intonation wise, so it might make sense just to move the whole thing back a little bit. That way my saddles can be nice and centered, and it was just going to look a little bit better. I measured some of my other guitars where the bridge is in relation to the tailpiece posts, and some are closer, some are further. I don't think it really matters, and I think, you know, even right there is going to be just fine. So, steps I need to take now are to remove these studs out of the wood, or the receivers again. Then I'm going to find some wood that matches this, see if I can find some walnut in my scrap wood pile, and then plug these, remeasure, and then re-drill, and then reset up the bridge. So let's go ahead and start. So first off is plugging these holes. So what I'm going to use, I'm going to use my digital calipers to get an exact circumference, or radius rather, of the hole here. So I'm going to use my inside measurements, and just right about there. And I can see that hole is about 0.4835 inches. 0.4760. Oh, anyway, I've got the idea of how big I need these plugs to be. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out these plugs so that they're tapered, so that they have a taper at the bottom and then they get thicker. So it's going to be the circumference or the radius, and then tapered down, so then I can actually tap those in so that they're flush, and they'll be nice and tight within the hole. I'm going to use a bit of wood glue to secure them in there as well. And I'm going to use this hip shot bridge still on this guitar, just because, because it's wide enough that it might even hide the hole slightly once I'm done, and two, I just really like the way it looks. I think it matches the aesthetic of this guitar, that kind of 70s harmonica bridge style thing going on. So I'm going to keep the bridge. And now I'm going to use the depth portion to see how far down I got to go, or how long these plugs got to be. So 0.728 and a 0.764. Alright, I marked them out on the wood that I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using mahogany because I've got some stain that I think is really going to match this top well. And the walnut that I have is just way too light, even with the stain, so I think these are going to work just fine. And then I marked out how deep they need to be, and as well as the shape and the size of the hole. So I'm going to make these a little bit bigger than they need to be, just to make sure that they fit, and then kind of work material down from there. And I'm going to be using my belt sander to go ahead and get the basic shape. So it's going to be a while on the belt sander to do this. I cut these pieces off some mahogany I had just laying around, and alright, let's go ahead and get these plugs made. Alright, here's my first plug, so I'm going to go ahead and tap that into the hole. Alright, so first hole plugged. Now I'm going to do the next one. So yeah, I tapped that in with a hammer, so it was relatively flush, and then I took a razor blade and I very carefully took off any of the excess material until it's totally flush now. So that's good. So now I just need to color match that and put a little bit of finish over top. I think I'm just going to use True Oil, because I think this is like a rubbed finish as well. So yeah, we're not going to put anything too thick on there. So now I'm just going to go ahead and start on the next plug. Alright, so there are our two plugged holes. I cleaned them up a little bit with a razor blade. Now I'm going to go ahead and just dab them with a little bit of True Oil and darken them up with some stain and try to get a close of enough of a color match where it's not super apparent. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So I put a little bit of stain on there. It's not quite a perfect match, but it blends in pretty well. So I'm just going to do that again to the other one. And that'll be good enough for what we're doing here. Alright, here's the end result of our plugs. So yeah, they're matched pretty well. I mean, you can definitely still see them, but they're nice and smooth, and they have a similar finish to the rest of the guitar, kind of a satin oil type of finish. And hopefully they'll be covered a bit by the bridge as well. So now I'm going to go ahead and measure where I'm going to put my new holes and drill them out. Alright, I marked out my new positions for my bridge. I measured it with the other bridge, and I moved it back a bit and just slightly over because I noticed there was a little bit of string getting a little too close to one of the sides, so that's going to compensate for that as well. And So yeah, those are my new bridge holes. I'm going to go ahead and drill those out to depth and then put in my studs. So I marked how deep I got to go with this drill bit, and I got to go one bigger than this. So I'm just going to drill very slowly so I don't get tear out. And yeah, slow is the name of the game. Put in the receivers, lined up the bridge, put on the bridge, strung it up really quickly, and yeah, seems to have worked great. I did a measurement here. So measuring from the nut, we want 24 3/4 for the scale. So that falls directly where it needs to be, pretty much right where the saddles are lining up on the tape. So that's great. We did have to move it back, you know, pretty substantially to intonate it properly. I guess the saddles would have been, you know, about right here. So they were about a 1/4 inch out on this end. So you had to move the bridge quite a bit to compensate for that. So anyway, I really like the look of this bridge, this hip shot 2 pneumatic. And I really like the magnets in the tailpiece too. And I just think it fits the aesthetic of the guitar quite nicely. You know, it does look kind of like a harmonica bridge, like a 70s style. So yeah, everything is good on this guitar now. The strings are lined up on the fretboard nicely now too. Before it was just a little bit too far to the side, and now it's just about perfect. It was perfectly playable before, but it's just kind of a preference thing. I usually don't have trouble with strings coming off on the bass side, but it was getting a little close. So now let's go ahead and check the intonation. I'm plugged in playing position, so now we can check our intonation. If I check my E string, perfectly in tune. So now I'm going to go ahead and make sure that stops there. Alright, now I try my 12th fret, and it's perfectly intonated. It's not moving at all. And then A, perfectly intonated. D's perfectly intonated. G. Perfect. So yeah, very happy with it now. It's too bad we had to drill, but it's not so bad. I mean, the holes blend in pretty well, and they're pretty well hidden by the bridge as well. I mean, if you really get in there and look, you can see where they are. But they're not terrible. So alright, this guitar is now finished. So let's go ahead, plug it in, and hear how it sounds. And then we'll do a bit of review on everything that we did to this thing. Alright, the Husk is finally done, so let's go ahead and plug it in and see how it sounds. I'm just going to go through it a little bit clean in each position, and then with a little bit of dirt. So yeah, it sounds great, clean. The 57 classic pickups, I love that set, and they sound really nice in this guitar. A properly intonated guitar really does make a big difference to comparing to how it sounded before. So okay, let's go ahead and try it with a little bit of dirt. Alright, so final thoughts on this Husk that we bought for 150 bucks. Well, it was a lot of work, but I'm really happy with it. So let's quickly go over what we did to this thing. So from top to bottom, we put on new Grover machine heads. They actually work great, stay in tune really well. Cut a new bone nut from scratch for this thing. We did a complete fret level polish and recrown. Brand new electronics for everything. So these are 57 classics. 57 classic in the neck, 57 classic plus in the bridge. New pick guard there, 61 style. We got three-way switch, with the black top hat knobs. And we're kind of going for like a 70s aesthetic. I think we got there. It's got this really nice flat satin brown kind of walnut body with the black burst. Looks great with that black guard and the zebra bobbin pickups. And kind of looks similar to like a harmonica bridge that Gibson put out in the 70s too. So that looks really nice. I really love this hip shot bridge. Super high quality. It's nice and light. And you've got that extra room for intonation. So the first time we put this together, the intonation was way off. The original builder, or the person who had it, had the bridge spaced wrong. So the holes that they used to anchor the bridge to the body were not in the correct position. So yeah, we had to go ahead and plug those and make new ones, but it's great now. It stays in tune really nice, perfectly intonated, nice low action. Super light guitar. I don't think it's that light. I think it's closer to like 7 or 8 pounds, but still relatively light. No neck dive at all. The neck feels great. It's that kind of that chunky 50s style neck, which I love on my guitars. And just a beautiful guitar. The flamed walnut on the top looks great. And the finish is that kind of high quality satin finish. The mahogany in the back looks amazing. I really like the cavity cover, made of mahogany as well. And the volute looks great. So yeah, not a lot of bad things to say about this guitar now. It plays, sounds, and feels great. You still can kind of see those plugs if you're really looking, but there's not much we can do about that. That had to be done. But I think it turned out really great. And yeah, this one is not for sale. It's going to go on the wall. And yeah, I'm just quite happy with it. That's going to be it for today. Thank you for tuning in to Beckler Guitars and Repair. I'll have more for you really soon. Thanks a lot.